100 arm wrestling questions answered, part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, it's in description. I'm trying to get through 100 most asked arm wrestling questions about all different kinds of topics. On first video, we get through 15. Let's see how many we can do today. How do I perform a hook in arm wrestling? Hook is an inside move, and it is a direct attack on your opponent's arm. You might hear terms like hook, like inside pulling, attacking the arm, or attacking the hand. Attacking the hand means attacking everything here. Will be more of a top roll. Like in a hook, you're never fighting for this. You might fight for a little bit of rotation and stuff like this, but most important part is you trying to attack your opponent's arm. So hook works as it sounds, as hook. So you make like a hook motion and you try to pull your opponent closer to yourself. There's some great hook pullers like Hajimur Zuluyev, we can say Ivan Matushenko, Rustam Babayev. You can watch their style. What they do on table, in my opinion, is perfection of hook. So hook is you're trying to cup your wrist, like you get wrist flexion very deep, and you pull your opponent closer to yourself. You can pull using your back, you can use more your side pressure, but that's where the attack happens. The attack happens low. On top roll, it's the opposite. You attack the top part of your opponent's hand or arm. What is the king's move in arm wrestling? So this is an interesting topic. It's popularized by, I would say, Devon, who's a big proponent of king's move. Michael Todd, he pulls this king's move. Now king's move has changed because we changed rules in arm wrestling. It used to be you can gain a position on your opponent where you have your humerus bone on a decline position and you just could stay there, which is just a terrific move to beat, because you have to literally, you're changing like two joints into a one joint, and then someone has to break your joint. King's move is an open top roll. There's almost no side pressure engagement. It's all just pulling backwards. So you use your hand, you use your shoulder, you use your arm, everything to rotate like this. So in some matches you will see guys being so opened up and they're just trying not to get pinned. So in a nutshell, that is what is a king's move. It's a very open top roll, guys fighting for not to get pinned. Some people call it desperation move, which is actually it is. You're desperate not to lose, so you just go there. Is the king's move legal or considered cheating? Depends who you ask. In the rules, if you follow everything within the rules, everything is legal. Like every style can make infractions of a rule. Elbow can come off the pad, you can make a false start, whatever. King's move is no exception, right? Now your humerus bone, in most rules on most competitions, your humerus bone cannot reach a decline position. If it reaches decline position, that's illegal, right? So you get either fouled out or you lose a round, like depends on the rules. There's guys like Michael Todd who's very close to getting there. He's almost arm straight, like he stays there, arms doesn't get fully opened up. He stays there and sometimes he dips under and that's when he gets a foul. So within the rule set, how we arm wrestle, like you can't really be on a full king's move as we, used to define it back in the day, because full king's move is shoulder below the table, arm like looking like this, right? You're doing a pyramid stance there, something like this. So that's illegal, but most things you just cannot do things like that anymore. Maybe referees didn't see it, maybe there was a moment in the match where it happened and no one punished you, but it is like going in a full kings, it's illegal. Which matters more in arm wrestling, arm strength or wrist strength? That's a good question. For everyone, the answer is different. If someone is fighting in a hook and they have really solid wrist, the arm strength will be the limiting factor. Many top rollers will have arm strength as limiting factor. If someone steps on the arm wrestling table for the first time, most of the time the wrist strength will be their limiting factor because they're not used to. They don't know how to do cupping, they don't know how to protect their hand, their arm, or everything. So the wrist will be the limiting factor. If you work on your wrist and your wrist has reached good enough level where you don't lose your wrist, where you keep the position you want, but you keep getting opened up, then the arm is the limiting factor. Can a smaller or weaker person win an arm wrestling against a stronger opponent? So this is one of those questions which doesn't make sense to me. We always say like, oh, he might be a weaker guy, and then the weaker guy beat the stronger guy. Are you really weaker if you beat the stronger guy? Like, you must be a stronger guy if you beat what you consider the stronger guy. Because, like, think about it like this. Like, where are we measuring? Does it mean like in arm wrestling? In arm wrestling, is the smaller, weaker guy can beat, stronger guy? Most of the time, no. Like, the weaker guy might have other stuff, but he's better arm wrestler. They might be a little slow on the start. They might have just some sticky points, but they are better at arm wrestling. This is why they're winning. If we're measuring like, I don't know, someone comes in with a 400 kilo deadlift, and I just deadlift 60 kilos, and I beat them because I'm an arm wrestler, you can't really consider that someone stronger and someone weaker, right? It really depends on who is stronger where. And if we talk about arm wrestling, the only thing matters is arm wrestling. You can beat someone on start, you can be faster, you can get lucky, you can get, you can play the rules better. They maybe made a foul or something. Those are moments where the stronger arm wrestler wins. But I always have like this opinion, like if you lost and you say you are the stronger arm wrestler, then maybe you're not the smarter arm wrestler, right? If you beat your opponent 6 times, but every single time your elbow come off the pad, could you done it without your elbow lifting off? If yes, then you are not the smarter arm wrestler, and you are the stronger one, but you still made that foul. So for everyone to understand, like, to beat someone at arm wrestling, someone is just better at arm wrestling than you. This is why, like, stronger is a very vague term. It could be stronger at anything. I could say like, I beat the faster arm wrestler because he runs sprints and I run marathons, right? So that doesn't make sense to me as an arm wrestler. If you can beat me in arm wrestling, I'm just stronger in those positions. I have better technique, I have better muscle coordination, which comes down to strength. In every single sport, technique is coordination. If you're not coordinated in a movement, you cannot be strong in a movement. How can I beat someone stronger than me at arm wrestling? Again, where is the strength we're talking about? Someone benches more, someone deadlifts more, someone bicep curls more, wrist curls more. Be better in the chain. That's my easiest answer. Be better at the chain. Be better at recognizing where to attack. So if someone has insanely good power when they get arm to arm, let's say in a hook, avoid the hook like the plague, right? Avoid it. Don't go there. If you're trying to beat someone at their strongest and you're not strong there, you're gonna lose. So be smarter, sometimes be faster, and be better connected, right? Because most of the time guys just don't understand like what is connection in arm wrestling. Try to beat them with the strap, outside the strap, and see what works better. So there's many different ways. Sometimes guys are just better at all the things that you do. That happens too. What stance or body position should I use when arm wrestling? This is a good one. So classically, if you're pulling with right arm, you want your right foot forward. Why do we do this stance? And for some people it's counterintuitive because they think you have to stand in an X pattern. So left arm forward, right arm forward, and then you go. The problem is if you try to bend yourself, your knee doesn't allow you to bend, right? If you have like this side is forward, this side is backwards, I can bend to this side, to the winning side, right? So that's the first one. I do like positions where I wrap my leg around the table leg, because then you have better connection with the hip. Especially for beginners, it teaches you how to be really engaged on the table, like you don't float away. And then other stances are more advanced, like hook pullers will press the leg inside the leg of the table really hard, and they will, as soon as they start, they will press themselves away from the table. Some do the opposite with the top roll, where they go on the opposite side on the table, on the leg, and they push themselves backwards, right? The classical stances for top roll, you stand right in the middle, either both legs or one leg under the table forward, and you're pressing yourself back. That's top roll stance. Classic hook stance, your leg is wrapped around or elevated and pressing away. Can I use my body weight to my advantage in arm wrestling? So body weight comes into this. You still have to beat the arm. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can weigh all the weight on the planet, but if your arm is not strong, it cannot hold those angles, it's going to be very hard for you to win. So body weight does matter, because as soon as someone is bigger than me, let's say someone is bigger by 10 kilos, 20 pounds, like 20 kilos, 40 pounds, they have extra mass. So now I have bigger things to rotate, I have bigger things to attack, I have bigger things to fight through. So that's where the weight classes come in play. Everyone with more weight will most of the time do better than anyone with the less weight on the same level. We're talking on the same level, with same training, with same preparation. This is why there's weight classes in almost all strength sports, because we know, like, the smaller guys, like, there's a limit how much muscle they can put on, and the limit of their strength will be here, where the bigger guys can put on more muscle and have more leverages and more things to work with. So the body weight, like, some people say, like, oh, because someone fell down on a side or went backwards, like, they're using their body weight. Like, do the same thing. How about like this? See where your body weight is, hang on with one arm or something, and you will see your arm will start opening up. And that's your body weight not allowing you to do those things. So when you do the same thing in arm wrestling, same thing happens. If you go backwards and you don't have enough power to hold your angles, to hold your arm close, you're going to open up. In arm wrestling, should I be pushing or pulling with my arm? Pulling is the first thing we learn, because pulling, arm wrestling is pulling, right? Pushing part is you have to understand where you push. A lot of people think like it's like this, like you push away there. Most of the time it's pushing sideways, right? You're not really pushing, you're just going through sideways. So pulling is the first thing you learn in almost every single technique, maybe except for flop wrist press. Flop wrist press, there is pushing. You're trying to push your opponent's arm open, like you're trying to get this done on them. So learn pulling, master pushing, and find a compromise somewhere in between. Best arm wrestlers on the planet will have a good balance between backwards and sideways, right? It's never really forward. It's never really forward. Even in a press, you can't really go forward, right? Because it's elbow to elbow. You can't do that. You have to go sideways. So yeah, stay away from pushing. Do I need to use my legs or foot placement in arm wrestling? So we already talked about stances, but you have to understand that, like, everything works together. This is a chain, right? Good positioning on your body will allow you to lean to one side more than the other, will allow you to do many different things. So foot position matters, and you will see some matches where the guys are actually in the middle of a match changing their foot position because of the position of their upper body. So more you arm wrestle, more you understand where to put it. But as a beginner or just starting, don't worry about it. Just find the first position, either like forward or behind the table leg, and start working with that. What are the basic rules of arm wrestling? So when you want to arm wrestle someone and you want it to be fair, first you take a grip where you can see both thumbs, so no one is cupping over the thumb. Second of all, you want wrist straight, because you don't want like this and then someone starts with a wrist bent, because that's a huge advantage, right? So you want the wrist straight. You want a relative center between us. You want shoulders squared. That's one of the rules in arm wrestling, shoulders square. You want arm like this, and then you center here and here. Most arm wrestling that we do happens on professional arm wrestling tables. If you do it on just a general table, just find a position where wrist is straight, you see the knuckles, shoulders are squared, and both guys agree like this is fine, and you can start to arm wrestle. And the objective of arm wrestling is to get any part from wrist to fingertips close to the pad. On a flat surface, it's very hard to do, because you really have to, like, if someone bends their wrist, you can't really, it's very hard to get them there. This is why we have pads that are a little bit elevated. People understand there's a problem there, so they elevated the pads. So if you arm wrestle on a flat surface, put something down and say like, okay, we have to get here. I'm not talking about elbow pads and everything else, because I think most people will do it just on the flat surfaces. But if there's some restrictions on elbow pads, I think it's better. Elbow cannot come off the side or cannot get lifted. Like, that's in a nutshell, basic arm wrestling rules. How is an arm wrestling match officially won? That's a good question. So first of all, either you get your opponent's hand, any position from the wrist to the fingertips, touching the pad or under the pad, so under the level, or he makes an infringement of rules and he gets 2 fouls. Classic arm wrestling settings in the tournaments, some super matches will use like 3 foul system, but usually it's 2 foul system. So you make like one time, you make a foul, you make second time, you lost the match, your opponent won. So either someone breaks the rules and then they get fouled out, or someone gets pinned and then they lose. That's how you win an arm wrestling match. What is considered a foul in arm wrestling? So there's many different things that we consider foul. If you're doing a referee's grip in WF, WAF competitions, every movement in referee's grip is a foul. Every time your elbow leaves the contact with the surface of the pad, that's a foul. Every time it drops to the side, that's a foul. You start too early, too many times, foul. Usually for early starts, you will have warnings. You have 2 warnings equals 1 foul. If you do something like false start, you can do it once, you do it twice, you get a second foul, you get second warning, you get a foul. There's also many different things that you cannot do. Your shoulder cannot cross the center line of the table. Your humerus bone cannot be in a declined position on the table. There's many ways to get a foul in arm wrestling. Of course, unsportsmanlike behavior, disrespecting your opponent or something like this will also even can get you a disqualification. Are there weight classes in arm wrestling? Yes, there are weight classes in arm wrestling. There are many different weight classes. There's not only weight classes, there's also age groups for different genders, and like you can start as young as under 15, under 18, under 23, then open class from which everyone can compete in, then masters from 40 to 50, from 50 to 60, from 60 to 70, and 70 plus. So there's that, and then there's weight classes. Again, depends on leagues, depends on competition, depends on tournament. The weight classes will differ. Like classic standard, WEF, World Arm Wrestling Federation standard, is up by 5 kilos, starting for men from 55, ending at 110 and 110 plus. For women, starting with 50 and ending at 90 plus kilos. So those are the classic weight classes. And the weight classes, they change, like I said, from league to league. Like East versus West right now, they have 70, 77, 85, 95, 105, 115 plus for men. So like, yeah, you will have to, when you go to competition, you have to look for your weight classes. And it's not only sometimes gender and age group, it's also mastery level. So here in Latvia, we have novice and we have also amateurs, and then you have pros. So there's 3 levels to almost everything you do. Do men and women compete separately in arm wrestling? Yes. In arm wrestling, there's separation. Women arm wrestlers can go to men's classes if they want and try to compete if it fits in their weight class. But we don't allow the opposite. Is arm wrestling a professional sport? For some it is. For, I would say, Devin Larratt, it is. For Ermas Gasparini, Levan Saginashvili, and maybe a few other people on the planet, it is definitely a professional sport. For everyone else, we are on our way. We're on our way to make it a professional sport. Is arm wrestling in the Olympics? No, arm wrestling is not yet in the Olympics. And for me, I just don't see it in a very near future. Para arm wrestling for disabled athletes is very close to be on Paralympics. So we will see if that happens in the near future. But the Olympics, just from what I understand, what I see around, arm wrestling is far away. I think right now we need to really check out the road we have with professional arm wrestling, making professional arm wrestling professional leagues, because we have amateur world championships and then we have the professionals, you know. So I think that is the way right now. If it changes in future, it would be great. Why wouldn't, you know, as a president of Latvian Arm Wrestling Federation, I would be very happy to send my team to Olympic Games if that ever happens. What are the biggest arm wrestling tournaments or leagues? So biggest arm wrestling tournaments would be continental championships. That would be Asia, and much bigger is European. And then WAF Worlds probably is the biggest and the strongest tournament on the planet right now. And then there's professional leagues. The biggest ones is King of Table, East versus West, which is right now known as EV Sports. So those are the big ones. There are much smaller ones that also doing a lot of stuff for arm wrestling, like Arm Wars, Arm Gods, Arm Havoc, AVA. There's many different ones, but the big players is EV Sports and WAF. How can I enter arm wrestling tournament? You just have to sign up. Like most of the time, if you don't think there's arm wrestling in your country, I think you're wrong. If you don't think there's arm wrestling around you, I think you're wrong. Just use the Google, check it out, write some things, and you will find out. Before you go to tournament, I would say go to a club, practice some safe arm wrestling. We don't want anyone to get injured, and beginners do get injured because they don't understand the basics, they don't understand the movements. So learn a little bit, and then you can go to competition. You just, most of the time, you just show up and sign up. For bigger events, like first of all, like WAF Worlds, let's say like this, they bring the national teams from every country. So you have to be qualified in your nationals. Your country needs to be part of WF so they can bring their national team to represent it. So that's how you get there. For promotions, most of the time it's invite only. So every time you see a card that features super matches, those athletes have been invited to go there. No athlete can actually just like say, like you can say I wanna, but no one has to take you there, right? Maybe with exception with Devon and Levin. How do I find local arm wrestling clubs or events? So ArmBet app that Devon Laird created, not by himself, but some smarter people probably did it. But you can go there and check geolocations and some other places around you where people are practicing, notify them. Facebook groups, Google, everywhere. I think there's arm wrestling everywhere, and there's people interested in arm wrestling everywhere. My suggestion to you, if you like do all these things and there's no one around, you have a Facebook or you have some friends or whatever, make a public post. Listen, I want to try this arm wrestling thing. Who wants to practice with me? You know, and then you make your own clubs. If your country doesn't have arm wrestling like governing body, you can do it. A lot of people, like I've seen a lot of people bitching about it. They say like, you know, my country doesn't, like every country made it. It wasn't like we, you know, like from day one they just had arm wrestling here. No, there was enthusiasts that really work hard to make arm wrestling happen here, and you can do the same thing for yourself. Anyway, guys, I think I get through like 20 questions. We're gonna return with part 3 very, very soon. Yeah. Let me know your questions in the comment section below. From the first video, there's a lot of questions. I haven't put them in these questions because I'm going to answer these and then I'm going to go through all the questions that everyone asked that are not here. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Stay strong. Love arm wrestling.